Hi, I'm Anup, and I welcome you all to Blue Saffron, the podcast program of corporatededuct.com, sponsored by Jani Plastics. And you're about to receive knowledge on Indian and Australian GST, goods and service tax. Yeah, you got it right, mate. Let's get started, shall we? TDS under GST in India. Friends, let's try and understand and explore the tax deduct at source in India, which is like PAYG W, As You Go Withholding in Australia. Employees have a choice that their tax be deducted at source, but deduction doesn't happen for the salaries falling within taxable income. Even in by-the-way trades of commerce, the customs often deducts vendors' tax in their accounts payable and pays to the government on their behalf during filing returns. I know it for a fact because one of the international companies has exercised the same practice with their vendor, that is my company, Jani Plastics, while giving a liable job work in the past. The rate of TDS notified under GST laws is normally 2%, 1% CGST plus 1% state GST. CGST is central GST. Or if it's interstate, then 2% IGST, integrated GST, on the payment made to the seller of taxable goods or services. TDS on contract is applicable if contract value is more than 1 lakh rupees or single invoice is more than 30,000 rupees. TDS rate is different for proprietary company to that of the partnership firm. Rate is different for the type of work as well. 1% for commission and 5% for the professional fees. Now, without going much into detail, because we are trying to talk about TDS with regards to the GST, let's take a look who can deduct TDS. Who are the guys liable to make the deduction of the tax at source? A department or an establishment of central government or state government, an authority or board or any body which has been set up by parliament or a state legislature by government, with of course 51% equity owned by the government. The governmental agencies, such persons or categories of persons notified by the government, public sector undertakings, the societies established under central or state government or local authority, and societies that are registered under Societies Registration Act 1860, or any local authority. All these guys can deduct the tax at source, and it is mandatory for a person liable to deduct TDS to register, and there is no threshold limit for this. Registration under GST can be obtained using existing tax deduction and collection account number 10 issued under the Income Tax Act. So, having all said and done, an important question arises at this juncture. Are GST and TDS connected? Well, the answer to that is yes and no. Why yes? Because TDS is under GST. There's no doubt about it. The person deducting tax under GST has to issue the TDS certificate in form of GSTR 7A to the deductee within 5 days of depositing the tax to the government. However, GST portal will automatically make GSTR 7A available to the deductee on the basis of GSTR 7 filed. The deductor, who would be liable to make the payment of TDS by the 10th day of the next month in form of GSTR 7. Let me explain with the example. Let's say company XYZ deducts TDS. Let's say XYZ is the customer of Jani Plastics, and it deducts TDS 2% for Jani Plastics on 5th of March. Then that XYZ company is liable to make the payment by 10th of April, the next month. Let's see, now this was like how GST and TDS are connected. Let's take a look at a view where TDS and GST are not connected, because the value of supply is to be taken as the amount excluding GST indicated on the invoice. So when you take an invoice, what I mean to say here is the TDS shall not be deducted on the CGST or SGST or IGST component of the invoice. Let me explain with another example. Let's say vendor IBC makes a supply worth rupees 10,000 to Jani Plastics. The rate of GST is 18%, as we all know in India. When Jani Plastics pays IBC, it will pay rupees 10,000, which is worth of supply, plus rupees 1,800 GST, that is 18%, to IBC, and rupees 200, that is 2% of the 10,000, as TDS to the government. So you see, the GST element is excluded. It can be very well said that TDS is not deducted on the GST element of a transaction. So this is it. Now, just like TDS, there's another terminology, tax collected at source, and it's equally important to know as we all live in the world of e-commerce, but we'll cover that in the next podcast. Thanks for listening. So my dear listeners, I hope you enjoyed the audio. I also hope there was some takeaway for you. Signing off now. We'll come up with more interesting episodes. Till then, take good care of yourselves. Keep liking your one and only Blue Saffron. Cheers. Bye-bye.